Hello and welcome to First Draft for the month of May. I am Alexis Ann and I'm here with my usual co-hosts Julia Kelly and Mary Chris Escobar. And today we're going to be talking about author collaborations. So before we get started on the subject at hand, we'll go around the room and introduce ourselves. And this week I'm going to start with Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia Kelly. I also write as Julia Blake, which is my contemporary name, Julia Kelly for Historicals. And today I'm drinking a Negroni. I am moving at the end of May, and so I am slowly drinking my bar down. So plenty of gin and Campari in my apartment right now, so I'm working on it.
Very good. Mary Chris?
I am Mary Chris Escobar. I don't have a pen name. Every month I'm going to try to think of a fake pen name. I keep forgetting. But I write women's fiction, and I am drinking tonight a Commonwealth Brewing blonde Mexican lager. And I don't know if this comes through on the video, but this is a really fun can. It has like a wave on it, like an ocean scene. It's really beautiful. And Mexican lagers are kind of popular right now, it seems like, at least in Virginia, which they're really summery. So it's a good drink to kick off May, which I think of as kind of the start of summer.
Absolutely. It's so hot here in Florida. Today was a cool day. It was 56 when I took the kids to school, and then we sweat through all our clothes on the way home.
Yeah.
Florida's lovely. By the way, I'm Alexis Ann. I write contemporary and erotic romance, and tonight I am drinking a red from Josh. I've had Josh before on the show. Josh and I are good friends.
Can Josh be an honorary host?
That would be fun if we could contact them and be like, hey, we're just going to start contacting all of our favorite drink makers. Would you like to be on the show? Speaking of collaborations, today we're talking about author collaborations. This is obviously an author collaboration, the show that we've been working on for, is it 3 years now?
I think it's a little bit over 3 years, which is crazy if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. I did think about it, and my brain just went, no, it's like thinking about your kid. Like, no, my kid is still 2, except that he's 10. Wait, when did that happen?
I meant to go back and count episodes and see what episode we're on, because we're probably approaching some high numbers there. So
I think it's over 30 now.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
I just remember when I did the show notes last month, I was in the SoundCloud channel, and I was like, that is a long list. When did that happen? I mean, it is like a kid, I think, right? Like, when did that happen?
But it's such a perfect example, too, of just doing something instead of getting overwhelmed by what the goal is going to be. Like with working out and other things, people talk about getting so overwhelmed by getting started. And we did. We just kind of got started. And now here we are looking back at over 30 episodes, which is like, what? I love that.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And we are also embarking on a new author collaboration that is launching also in the month of May. So we thought we would go ahead and bring that up as part of the show. We have the HBIC Nation coming online this month. Do either one of you want to tackle what kind of a collaboration that is?
Sure. So by the time that the show has aired, HBICNation.com will be live, and that stands for Head Bitches in Charge. So we are an author collaboration and community that is basically there to foster and help educate and grow creative entrepreneurs. So authors, artists, musicians, people who have a creative bent to their business, and we want to give them a place where they can really come together and feel like they have people in their corner who are looking out for them and teaching them and also learning from them. So we're really excited about it, and it kind of sprang up organically out of our own writing group. So it's kind of one of those examples of what collaboration can become. It can go from something more informal to a more formal business partnership. So.
And it was really very organic because not even a year ago, in July at RWA last year, we were just friends. And it became a text stream that became a Slack stream that became hey, this could be a thing. And so it really is a really good example of how something can naturally take its course as you all find each other's strengths and commonalities and suddenly say, hey, this is a thing that we can do together that I think could be a really great thing. Whereas other author collaborations are a little bit more, hey, this is a thing, who wants to do it with me?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that can be, anything from box sets to, Facebook parties to various other things. Different collaborations are going to have different goals in mind, whether it's, promotion or fostering community or whatever. So there's certainly different approaches that you can take when working with other authors.
Do you find that having a strong leader is an asset or a problem?
I think it varies, right? Because I think about that a lot, like with our group here and this collaboration for this podcast. We have sort of naturally over the 3+ years, 30 episodes, fallen into roles, I feel like,
Yes.
as far as post-production roles. We were just joking before we came on air about how we try to rotate hosting and like, who knows, like if we keep up with that. But I think it has kind of worked out without anybody stepping up and saying, I'm assigning these roles to you. We've just sort of fallen into those roles. But I'm not sure that is always the best way to go. I mean, that has worked really beautifully and organically for us. But certainly I think about something like I'm helping with a regional conference planning, and I've helped with conference planning stuff in the past. Like, you kind of need somebody to say, hey, like, these are going to be the roles we're going to play. I need a person to take on this role and a person to take on this role. So I think it has a lot of factors. I think it depends on the goal of the group. I think it depends on the size of the group, probably a little bit on whether it came up organically like we were talking about, or whether it was something that was kind of a pre-planned idea.
Yeah, I think it depends on personality in some respects. If I would say the 6 women behind HBIC, we all have different shades of kind of leadership, and I think we fall into different areas with that. So some of us are more comfortable along the web and graphics side. Some of us are more comfortable along, the kind of marketing and promotional side. And so if you can find a collaboration where people have those roles and they slip into them naturally, that's great. Sometimes it is necessary to be kind of like the guiding force, to have somebody be the guiding force behind the whole project and be pushing it forward. But I will say that if you're an author, especially if you're an author with a day job or a lot of family obligations or things like that, it can be really, really helpful having other people to help pick up the slack when sometimes there are just months and days and weeks where it's not going to work. So if you can find somebody who has a like personality, and I think more than anything else, it's finding people who have similar personalities, but finding people who have similar expectations for the project is really important. So you don't have somebody who's like way gung-ho and then everybody else is sort of hanging back and they're just like, I don't really know about this thing. I think that's where you're going to get some tension and frustration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the big things I heard in all of that was if it has a very specific goal, or if you want to have all the control over what that goal is ultimately going to be, like a box set where you want to reach a certain status on the USA Today or sell a certain number of books or reach a certain kind of reader, and you want to set that up and take that leadership role, then that's all on you to fill in the rest of those slots and be very clear on what the expectations of everyone else are going to be.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. I think the other thing that when we have approached things in the past, our attitude has always been we are friends first, and we have become business partners out of that friendship. And so I think it's important to all of us to maintain that friendship and maintain a level of that, regardless of what ends up happening. So, we have had legal, I know Lexi and I have entered into legal contracts together for box sets and things like that. But one of the things that's really important that all of us have been very clear about is that no matter what happens with the project, if the project is starting to put a strain on that friendship, it is not as important as the friendship. So that's been our goal, and that may not be everybody's goal, but to us, that's been important in the past. So it continues to be important moving forward. And everybody's clear. That's the thing. Everybody's clear. The lines of communication are open.
Yes, I think I would call that, like, unofficially, I don't know if this is an actual thing, but I call it like an honesty clause, like just setting up front. And I think you want to do that for lots of reasons. Like, definitely it works really well in an informal project where you're all friends to begin with. But if you're doing a box set and you're asking other authors to collaborate with you, my thought is, like, the last thing that you would want to happen is for someone to need to pull out of that and feel uncomfortable and wait till the last minute, because then there's this hole in this thing that you're creating. And so I think if you have no other rules, sort of setting up front, that whether it's our relationship comes first or it's your personal health and well-being comes first, but sort of setting up this idea that like the only thing that you can do wrong is to not be honest quickly. Like as soon as you know, I want out of this isn't working again. And that's especially if it's something like with deadlines, like a box set or, or something like that, like setting up that environment where people feel comfortable to say either to decline from the beginning or to say, early on or as soon as they know I can't do this. So I think that is super important, even if you have really no other formal rules. And
anytime money is a factor in it, as much as I'd like to say that first draft is this huge money maker for us, we all do this for we do this for fun.
What were we saying about wine, like the Josh Wine sponsorship?
I think we should contact them.
Hit us up.
Yeah.
Make that happen.
Anyway, yes.
So this is really a collaboration of love. We do not do this for the money because there is no money.
But negative money.
There is negative money.
Luckily, not lots of negative money.
No,
it's very small negative money, but there is.
But negative money, indeed.
Yes, we should probably work on that. However, and we might want to enter into a legal contract when we do introduce money into our situation. But in other situations that are not done out of love, like ours, you definitely want very clear rules and a legal contract in place, because when money is involved, you need to be very clear on what the outs are. Who's handling the money, who's handling the taxes, and saying that you trust that person is the single, I'm going to go out and say the S word, stupidest thing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's protecting yourself. You wouldn't enter into a contract with a publisher, or you wouldn't enter into an agreement with a publisher to publish your book without a contract. And so why would you do that with a box set or with any other collaboration where there's an exchange of money? It's there to protect you. It's there to protect everybody else. Within that contract, there should be clauses about what happens if this book eventually, let's say it's a book, if this book is not delivered, if these things are, there should be provisions in there, because it's really for the protection of everybody. It sets the rules out clearly beforehand. It's like any other relationship. It's all about communication, and it's all about making sure that everybody is very clear and has agreed to what it is that you're walking into. It's just a way of protecting yourself and protecting those relationships. And then once, it's one of those things, if God forbid something were to happen and somebody were to have to pull out of a project, everybody else involved in the project needs to be the big person and not then go and kind of emotionally dump on that person who had to pull out. So That's the other side of it. Like, you do actually have to be an adult about it.
Do unto others and all that stuff, because eventually you're going to be on the other side one day. It's just the cycle of life.
It is. I think we talked about that with HBIC early on when we were starting kind of this idea of kindness. And like, I love the distinction between kindness and nice, because it doesn't mean being nice just for but it means sort of doing the kind thing and the caring thing and the do unto others, like the way you would want to be treated. And so I think that's kind of what we're talking about here. Like, as sort of sterile as it seems to draw up a legal agreement, that is actually the kind thing to do for everyone in the group.
Yeah, it is.
Because depending on what your particular venture is going to be, you're essentially marrying that person in some ways.
We are so business married, you guys.
And you have to think, I'm how many years? 14 years into my marriage, and we are not the same people when we started. And I've been in a business relationship as well, with a non-writing related venture. And there are very intimate things that take place. You get to know why that person can't be there on that day, and you have to be willing to go to that extra degree of familiarity sometimes with the people that you're working with. And the contract is there so that when you don't know how to communicate your frustration or your need to get out or whatever it is that's taking place, the contract is what kind of helps guide you on how to do that.
I think I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because I think one of the things that you need to consider, like you said, what's happening on that day when that person can't be there. I now know more about you guys, who I see once or twice a year in person. And I obviously talk to you every single day online and all that. But I know more about you and what's going on in your lives than I do about some of my friends who are geographically so much closer to me here in New York. So it's just one of those things where you are going to get to know each other very intimately. And if it's not a person and a personality that you think you can enter into that degree of intimacy with, maybe it's not the right person to have a contract with. Business-wise, you know, personality,
workshop-wise,
collaboration-wise, workshop-wise, whatever. There's a lot of stuff to consider, because you're going to get to know each other very, very well. Very, very well. So
luckily I love you too.
Yeah, no, and it's great, and it can be the most rewarding, best relationship. And you know, the 6 women behind, well, I guess 5 women plus me behind HBIC are some of my closest friends, and I wouldn't give that up for the world. And so, you know, it's incredibly important to me that friendship is maintained. But I also would not have felt comfortable saying, I think we should really do this, unless I felt completely comfortable personality-wise that we were going to work together and work together well, because it's just a whole nother level of being business married.
Can I share a quick story on that? So we are all up in each other's business, and we do talk to each other all day, every day. And yesterday I was having a day. I am PMSing like nobody's business. And my answers were getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And then I started drinking my night whiskey, my nightcap. And then they got really short. And by the time I looked at my last message, I was like, dang, I'm a bee. And so I went into the next channel and went, I am so sorry, guys. I am a horrible human being. And y'all usually forgive me, and it's all good.
Didn't even notice.
I actually, I read that this morning.
But we're all very forgiving of each other, and we usually step back and say, whoa, I got out of control there. I don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
Totally.
So that's my funny story on how interpersonal your lives can be, and how nice it is that you can step back in a relationship sometimes.
Yes, definitely.
And I would say in the same vein, I appreciate so much, because I am probably the least active in that channel. And it's just, you know, situations of, I have a day job where I can't be online all the time, because 9 times out of 10 there's somebody sitting across the desk from me, and I can't really be like, excuse me, like, there's something really exciting, and I have held off on downloading this on my company's computer, which would make it look like I was working but cause potentially other problems. So, but anyway, I appreciate that when I can drop in and leave comments, it's appreciated, and like I don't feel like the outcast for not being there all day. I also then don't notice when I will tell you, Alexis, when I went back and read, like I was like, what is she talking about? Because I'm reading it like all in a big lump, and I'm like, she's fine. She's not being short. She's just like being succinct. Like,
fine.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the things we want to talk about a little bit is the different types of collaboration that you see within specifically writer communities. And when we were talking before the pre-show, we specifically mentioned not talking about co-writing, because co-writing is kind of its own animal. None of the 3 of us do it, so we'd really like to have guests on who do co-write, and we'll do something with that a little later in the year, I think. But
if you're listening and you co-write, we're super impressed by you, and we want to understand.
Exactly. Please explain to us how your brains work as a collective whole.
So just shoot us an email and we'll get you on the show.
Yes, absolutely. But what are some of the things that you guys have seen in terms of projects that have come up?
Aside from really awesome podcasts.
Right.
Well, I mean, it can be as simple as workshops. I mean, we're coming into conference season, and a lot of those workshops are collaborations of authors getting together and saying, hey, we all either write this type of thing, or we worked through this type of thing, and we can share our expertise. Let's put together a workshop. And sometimes those collaborations turn into multiple workshops or nonfiction books or all kinds of other things that it can steamroll from there. So workshops is definitely a big thing I'm seeing all over Facebook right now, because conference season.
Yep, definitely.
And
I've seen go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've seen a lot of author cross-promotional pushes.
Yes.
So like secret Facebook groups, which makes it sound a lot more dastardly than it actually is. But basically all these authors coming together who are within a similar genre or heat level or something along those lines. And all of them being like, okay, so I can promote to my list, but if I promote to my list and then 10 of your lists, I'm going to have a lot more reach. And then if you do the same, you're going to have a lot more reach. So let's work together and let's figure out a way to collaborate. And I've done a few of those promotions before, and it has been helpful, certainly. So I think some are a little bit more permanent than others, and some are just like, we're going to come together and do this thing, or we're going to buy into a NetGalley subscription, and we'll have an author collective that will go in to NetGalley together to make our, self-pub ARCs more widely available. So that is promotions and marketing. I've seen things pop up.
Definitely. I was just going to throw in, I've seen all of that. I think I have been active in my local writing group. And so I think, there's also collaborating through committees to organize conferences, or helping out with sort of local events and local shows. I one time even kind of did a super informal collaboration with some authors that I had met, and did like a book signing party at my house. I live right in the middle of an arts district, and there's like a art gallery walk on Fridays. And so we opened up our living room and had 4 authors signing. So I think collaborating informally, in person in something like a signing, or formally, but I think that can work really well. There's a bookstore locally here who does a really cool Christmas collaboration at a brewery where they have a bunch of authors. I know, it's awesome. Have a bunch of authors come in.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And sign things. So, we're talking a lot about kind of online collaboration, but I think if you do have an active community of writers where you live, or, even if it's something where it's a national organization, but you're helping to organize a local or a regional conference, I think those are super fun collaborations as well.
Oh, one other thing I thought of, we've talked about anthologies, but for instance, Audra North put together a couple of anthologies for RAIN to benefit that organization. So, it was not for the profit of the authors, but for the profit of the, or for the donation to the charitable organization. So she brought together a whole bunch of people, and then that money ended up getting donated to charity. So it can be, in that case, if you're going to talk contracts, the contract would very, very, very clearly state that any profit would go towards that donation.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And then Facebook, I swear, is just one giant author collaboration between all of the author communities, some of which are established by a single author or a bunch of authors who all help moderate together. And moderation in those groups is really huge. Even if it is started by one author, they bring in 2, 3, 4, 5 other authors that they know that they can work with and trust, who will monitor what's going on and help keep on top of all of the shenanigans that happen in Facebook groups. It's supposed to be for the good of everyone to collaborate and share information, but we all know that people are people and things get out of hand sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit of a movable monster, the Facebook groups. So it helps, having, and we should do a first draft about Facebook groups, but continuing our theme of things we think of while we're actually talking about other things. That's definitely an area where it's really helpful to have some assistance and people coming in and working with you.
The thought of starting something like what we've launched with HBIC without a team would totally intimidate me, because no way could I stay on top of moderate. I mean, you guys know how often I'm able to jump into a Slack channel. So, I mean, things would totally go haywire while I wasn't there. And while I can say, you know what, I can take a week and be totally devoted to this, for me to be able to say, like, every day I can be totally devoted to this, like, no, there's no way I could stay on top of it. So, well, as far as commenting and that kind of thing.
Yeah, sometimes it's just skill set. Like Alexandra Houghton is doing all of the design graphics for, and she set up the website and all of that stuff. And the idea of me having to do that, I couldn't do what she's doing. I just don't have the skills for it. And I don't have the eye for it and all of those things. So I would have to farm out all that work and pay somebody to do it. So to have somebody on your team to be working towards that collaboration, it really makes a huge difference, because you can go through and you can, Alexis is also somebody who's very skilled with that. And behind the scenes of First Draft, maybe we should talk about what we do behind the scenes of First Draft. Having everybody fall into those roles and take over some of the work and distribute it between each other really is helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't want her job.
No.
It takes me like 20
She's very
minutes to
good at
make a
it.
simple Canva graphic.
Yeah.
I'm actually exaggerating. I mean, I'm actually lowballing that. Like, I can lose out an hour to make a small graphic in Canva.
No, and she's incredible. She just
Right.
starts doing things, and suddenly it's you're in your Google Drive, and you're just like, how did that happen?
She like made me a little graphic one time for like, I don't know, something I think I was chatting to you guys about in text or Slack or something. And like 5 minutes later, she's like, here's your graphic for, I think it was like my syllabus for class. She's like, here's a graphic for your, and I was like, oh, it would have taken me 4 hours to do that. I'm assuming you just did that in 2 seconds.
That's great. Yep. You let the people who have those skills just do it. Like, get all dirty with it, and then let them step back on the other things. So nobody's doing all the work all the time. She's doing a lot of work right now, but she won't have to do all the work all the time.
Yeah. Right. Yes. We appreciate you, Alexandra.
Yes, thank you.
Under another
should give her a shout out. I always mess up people's websites. What's her website?
Romance by the Cover, and she also has alexandrahoughton.com. So
yes, but the design stuff is Romance.
The design stuff is Romance by the Cover. Yes.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, does anybody have anything else to say about author collaboration for today's show? No?
I don't think so.
I'll just add that we all of us HBICs, the entire HBIC Nation, will be at RWA in July here in Orlando, Florida, at the Swan and Dolphin, and we will be having, what are we calling them?
Office hours.
Office hours.
Office hours?
Yes.
Yes.
Poolside office hours, if anyone wants to come over and chat to bring up anything that they would like to discuss. Yeah.
Should we mention who's in the founding HBIC?
Oh, that would probably be, wise. It is the three of us.
Yes.
It's the three of us plus Alexandra Houghton, Lindsay Emery, who writes Sisterhood is Deadly, which I keep telling everyone is my favorite book, and then Laura von Houten. She is the queen.
Von Holt.
You just married.
You just married. They want to be married.
They quit work, so.
Boom. Sorry about that. Laura von Holt, the queen bee. So that's the six of us. We will be having poolside office hours. We would love to chat and discuss what we're going to be bringing into our new nation.
Yes, and we'll release more details as it comes up, which I'm sure is what you were about to say. So.
Well, I was also going to say we'll just make sure in the show notes for this show that we put links to our website, where there's a newsletter I think you can sign up for HBIC, and I believe a link on that page to our Facebook page as well. So definitely, we'd love to have you join the nation.
We would.
So that is our show for this month. We'll go around the room real quick and let you know what we've got coming up. We can start the opposite way with Mary Chris.
Oh. Well, I am really excited about HBIC Nation this month. So I will do a second plug for that. And along with that, feel free to stop by my website, marychrisescobar.com, and sign up for my newsletter. I've got a little free novella out there for you, and we'll send periodic updates about what's going on with me.
Awesome. Julia?
I have 2 books up for pre-order right now. Julia Blake's Changing the Play is up right now, and by the time this airs, I think we should have a cover, and I've just seen the internal pages. They look great, so it's really exciting actually seeing the book as it's going to show up on people's e-readers. So that's available, and that comes out in August. And then as Julia Kelly, the first in the Matchmaker of Edinburgh series, The Look of Love, is up for pre-order right now, and it's got a pretty cover with a redhead and a sweeping dress looking over the moors. It's gorgeous.
So pretty.
And so that is an October release that is coming up as well, and I actually need to get my editor edits back on that book. So that is what I'm working out through the month of May.
Awesome. And I am Alexis Ann. I finally can show you guys the cover for Summer Heat. Yeah. It is out now. Alexandra Houghton, since we haven't mentioned her name enough. she made
I think
cover.
This show is unofficially sponsored by Alexandra Houghton.
I think so. Romanced by the Cover made this cover. And she did my internal formatting for the first time with the new vellum beta for paperbacks, and it's amazing and it's awesome, and you guys should get that because right on the heels of that I'll have Night Games coming out soon, and that cover will be up possibly by the time this show airs for you to check out. So that is First Draft for the month of May. Thank you very much for listening. You can find more on firstdraftwriting.com. If you're listening to us as a podcast, please give us a rating, a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. If you have any ideas for future shows on what you would like to hear beyond what we've already written down from today's broadcast, please send us an email and let us know, and tell your friends. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter, and we'll see you again in June. Thanks for listening.